What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to 49ers First Takes with my eventual, when we get back to Mondays, co-host Al from 49ers Plus podcast. He's part of our Monday show that we do, the Empire State of Mind podcast that will probably reconvene sometime in September. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Only about 4 weeks to go until we're back on Mondays surveying either the damage or glowing in the post-victory light. We'll see.
Yeah. It's weird because I've talked to you about this before. There's a part of me that and likes to enjoy the summer because I hate winter weather, right? We live in the Northeast, both of us, and we know how much we hate the snow, the cold, whatever. And there's this weird thing where I love football and I can't wait for football to start. And I get excited all the time because I'm obsessed with it since I was a kid. But there's part of me that wants it to kind of slow up a little bit. But, we haven't really seen football since January. So, it's about time that, things start ramping up. We're in the dog days of summer. We haven't gotten any rain in probably 2 months over here.
Yeah.
So everything's burnt to a crisp. So part of me is fine, bring on the fall, bring on football. Let's do this.
Nothing's going to slow down, man. Once week one hits, you're going to blink. It's going to be mid-season, then it's going to be January. It's maybe because fantasy football or just the fact that, we're football fans and we do this, it just makes everything go by quicker. But yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't mind if the summer was a little bit slower, especially having a couple of kids and driving them around to things and going on vacation and trying to, fit in time to do my own show, chat with you. So, lazy summer would be nice. Hasn't been that, but at least in 4 weeks, we'll be talking real football again.
Yeah. The one thing last year, at least I thought, was we got into October, November, maybe late October. And I was already kind of over the season just based on how it was going. And I was like, man, it's not even November yet, and I'm already feeling this way. It was a long season last year. The football season dragged because the Niners were so horrible, and so hurt, and so the getting to the off season was a task. Watching the Super Bowl was kind of a task. I was just happy that the Eagles won or whatever, but it was a drag, and I feel like this off season's been kind of a drag too, just with everything. But like you said, it's just all of a sudden you're going to blink and it's going to be September and we're going to be reviewing games every Monday, and hopefully it's positive. I would say the preseason, I guess I will start with the takeaway from the preseason. It wasn't much real positive to go on in that game. It was 49er football. They were on television playing. It was real, but it was kind of the worst possible version of it, other than probably the first quarter. Mm-hmm. And then it was all downhill. What was your quick takeaway?
Well, I think the big takeaway is if the Niners third stringers had to line up against the Broncos third stringers, 10 times, they'd probably lose the game 9 times, right? We know that backups and depth are going to be an issue. It's an issue for what are the deep teams that are out there, right? In a salary cap era, you really can't have a deep team or have, 4 good offensive tackles. I know we're going to talk about the offensive line, but I think my takeaway was the Niners backups on offense and defense to start the game outplayed the Broncos team, who were a majority of starters, or at the very least had more starters playing than the 49ers did, right? Then you get into the second, third, fourth quarter, everything fell apart. So if we want to take away any positives, is that when the Niners were punching up, right? Because it was only Ben Barch and maybe Demarcus Robinson you can call a starter on offense. And then the defense was, I don't even know who, I guess Jason Pinnock, maybe someone on the D-line.
D Winners was a starter.
Yeah, so they shut the Broncos offense down. Bo Nix didn't do anything. They got that safety from Chase Lucas. Mac Jones brought him down the field. They wound up scoring a touchdown, getting up 9-0. Then the wheels fell off for whatever it's worth. But at least when the Niners were going up against the majority of ones on both sides of the ball, they held their ground and then some. They were up 9-0. And then, Carter Bradley comes in and it all goes to shit.
Yeah, it was cool to see the defense with all backups in take it to a team that has a lot of pressure on them this year. Broncos,
Yeah.
they're supposed to be a really good team. Defensive line's probably one of the deepest in the National Football League. Offensively, I mean, they got a quarterback that can throw the ball probably the length of the field. He's got an amazing arm. I love how the pundits will always automatically glaze past somebody's mental inabilities or maybe the things that they can't do mentally when they have a big strong arm, and they glaze right past that. So like someone like Bo Nix is just to some people he's already up on that cusp of becoming a great quarterback, and I'll reserve judgment for that one. But it was interesting to see. There's part of me that feels like Kyle just wants to get through the preseason and does not care. Hence why both backup quarterbacks were so horrendously bad, and he didn't seem too bothered by it whatsoever. I don't know if you watched Kyle's body language on the sideline with Bradley and with was it mostly how many quarterbacks did they have yesterday playing? They had
it was Jones, Bradley, and Mordecai.
I mean, both of them were absolutely
Terrible.
dog water. I mean, they set the NFL passing game back 50 years the way they were. I mean, like guys are running a seam and the guy's throwing it out. Like, what are we watching, bro? Like,
I'll tell you what, Tanner Mordecai is just an arm. Usually, some people are just Jags, just a guy. He's just an arm. And I know that everyone's going to talk about nepotism with Gus Bradley being his father and on the defensive staff, and that's why he got signed potentially, right? Or probably true at this point. The fact that Tanner Mordecai got released and Carter Bradley did not. He's still on the roster. I'm hoping that this lack of having a third or fourth quarterback on the team shakes some sense into Kyle, and they only carry 2. They put a third quarterback on the practice squad, and then you can use that roster spot on, is it, cornerback 6, linebacker 6, defensive lineman 10, tight end 4, offensive lineman 10. If they feel like they really, I mean, they can gather up 10 offensive linemen from who they have on the roster now. Is it, 9 or 10? Is it really going to matter? Is that one extra below average offensive lineman as a backup really going to make anybody feel better? But if a season's going to come down to Tanner Mordecai or Carter Bradley, you might as well just not even have a quarterback playing, right? Like they both get knocked out. You just, Kyle comes in, Juszczyk throws a couple passes, they run some options, and that's it. So that could be the only good thing in my mind that comes out of how bad those quarterbacks look. Kyle just carry 2 and have a more important position solidified somewhere else.
Well, let's hope to God the offensive line can play well and protect whatever quarterback is in there so that we don't need a third, because most teams don't carry a third through the season. They only carry 2. I wanted to talk about, we could go into the some of the standouts in the game. We can go across. So, I have Watkins, Chase Lucas, CJ West, Marquise Siegel, and Sebastian Valdez. I didn't see much of Siegel because I was making dinner, but I was definitely aware of the other guys. I'll let you go with anybody that you had any thoughts on from the preseason game.
No, everybody that you said made sense, and I did my show earlier today or yesterday. I'm losing track of days, and said the same things. I think Chase Lucas is somebody that's making a good push for the roster. Should they keep 6 corners, he could be, if you want to say, a backup to Upton Stout or battling to start in the slot. I think he had a really good showing. Again, 1 game, lots of practices, joint practice, and 2 more games to go. So, and who knows who the hell else is going to get injured, right? He could be one that gets injured, but he looked good. I think Kalia Davis on the D line looked good. Some strong bull rushes. I think he had one of the only sacks the Niners had on the day. Offensively, Corey Kiner got the most carries, had the most rushing yards, was decisive, showed power, not a blazer, but showed some burst, showed some decent pass protection in a couple sets where he picked up a free blitzer. And yeah, Watkins, everybody that you said, kind of made sense. So there was, I think in terms of individual performances, there was probably more that you look back and go, oh, wow, player X, Y, Z, ABC, played well, or they flashed. as opposed to individual players who crap the bed. The team, offensively and defensively, second, third, and fourth quarters, the team did not look good. But there were, I think, more individual standout players or players that caught your eye for good reasons than bad reasons.
Chase Lucas is interesting to me because we went into the offseason thinking we had a really, really light secondary. And we've gotten reports that like Flowers has done really well in training camp. And now you have a guy like Chase Lucas who's looking good. You have Marquise Siegel. You already have Jair Brown and Mustafa. I mean, like all of a sudden, if like you said, there's still more games to play, but all of a sudden you like, wow, we might actually have a little depth at corner and at safety. Whereas we thought like, one injury away and we're beat. All of a sudden, you have two decent backup corners. And is Richie Grant a corner? Or is he also a backup safety?
He's a safety. He didn't play in the game against Denver, but yeah, safety.
So eventually, all of a sudden, you have some depth in the secondary. It's again, we have to watch other preseason games, and like they could crap the bed so badly next week. But it is cool to be pleasantly surprised as a fan who is, the Niners, like you said, dude, the Niners are so thin on depth this year. My God. Like people are like, oh, you're panicking. It's the preseason. It's all these injuries. Or you're panicking. I'm like, yeah, but it's not like the teams in the past where we have, comparable backups every single place across the board. This team is like two major injuries from being absolute dog water on defense. Like if Warner goes down or Bosa, like, oh boy, you know what I mean? Like,
defensively, linebacker, it hasn't shaken out yet. I'm sure we'll get into talking about Nick Martin, first preseason game. He's going to miss tackles. He's going to overrun stuff. He's going to get better. To me, it's D Winter's job to lose. And I think there's, a conversation to be had that to start the season, Nick Martin might be linebacker 4. Like Luke Gifford was brought in for special teams. He was a starter for Tennessee or played some starter snaps. There's a world out there where he is linebacker 3 until Martin, because not even where he's drafted, but the athleticism, the speed, the run and hit, heat-seeking missile type thing before that takes over. Defensive line, more at tackle than at DN, because when everybody's healthy, Bosa, Yator, Michael, Bryce Huff, that's a solid 4. And if they go 5 DNs, is it going to be Samo? Is it going to be Robert Beal, Bradley Anae, played with Robert Solin, who's with the Jets, was in the UFL in the spring, led the team in pressures. He and actually Chase Lucas against Denver. So they not the deepest team in the world, and they're going to have issues. Ironically enough, when everybody's healthy, their deepest position is actually receiver. It's just not deep right now because everybody is in the ambulance.
Sebastian Valdez, what? Yeah. Like undersized UDFA. Nobody knows who he was. I didn't know who he was until last night. I heard about this Hulk guy.
Yep.
But I didn't know who the player was. And then I watched the game. And it's funny, bro. Like, it's always the people, the ones that always get you are never the ones that you're expected and you're waiting to watch. It's always somebody who's like undersized, overmotivated, and nobody knows who they are. And I think sometimes that's why I feel for Alfred Collins a little bit, because so much is expected of him and he's so behind.
Yep.
He got scooted a couple times by the offensive line during that game. He didn't look very promising. And then you get a guy who's just like, "Hi, I'm just happy to be here. I'm a UDFA. Nobody knows who I am and I'm small." And yet like he's worth thinking. I mean, I look at him now. You have the NASCAR package. I wouldn't have having someone like Valdez on the NASCAR package because he's just so ridiculously strong in such a confined space. And so like, I'm just talking now after one game and hearing preseason talk. He's interesting. He's an interesting player to watch.
He's the second defensive lineman that the Niners have had in recent memory that's been called Hulk. Remember Contavious Street?
Contavious Street.
Defensive tackle or DN. He was baby Hulk. I think he lasted on the team for 2 years, 3 years, and went to the Saints. Listen, I'm pulling for him, and I understand why, a lot of fans and even media members get caught up in like all those training camp heroes and, people making projections that, 2, 3, 4 undrafted rookie free agents are going to make the team. Niners aren't an expansion team, guys. They are not an expansion team. We got to slow down with that stuff. But Kevin Givens' injury opens up the door for someone like Valdez to make the team. And Jordan Elliott, who we haven't seen, there's only 2 players on the roster, both on defense, both on the D-line, that if the Niners wanted to release, they could actually see decent cap savings. And Elliott's one, they would save about $2.9 million. And Yetur Gross-Matos is the other one. They'd save about $4.8 million if they were to release them. But Givens is hurt. So when you count them off, it's Elliott, it's the 2 rookies, it's Evan Anderson, it's Kalia Davis. And then you have Valdez at 6. So he could be battling, Kalia Davis for D tackle 5. If Jordan Elliott gets released or somebody gets hurt, he slides right in there. So, one of those examples of, I'm just happy to be here. Let me just play my ass off. And it's nothing against Alfred Collins. That whole second round, nobody was signing crap, just got everybody behind. But I've been saying for a couple of weeks that I think CJ West is going to be the more impressive rookie. When you look at what Alfred Collins did or didn't do at Texas, he only started his last year. He was in Texas for 5 years and did not start a whole bunch of games up until his senior year. So not that he's more name than game where everyone's like, oh, he's such a big body, he'll help with stopping the run. Yes, he will get better in the coming weeks and months for sure. But as whatever that second round pick, like he's not a sure thing by any means based on what his college productivity was, regardless that he was out of Texas.
It's amazing. I saw somebody said that he was a bust already on Twitter.
No,
the dumbest thing I've seen so far. They're like, CJ West is a hit. We need to get rid of that bust Collins. And I'm just like, oh, man. The intelligence level of this 49er fan base in some places is just, wow.
Sadly, in the coming weeks, that may prove to be one of the smarter things that people have said, because fans are going to say even things that are dumber than that.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, we're going to get to that. It's this topic that just doesn't go away when it regards the quarterback position. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sad to see, and I want to talk about injuries. I am unusually grumpy right now in the preseason because of all the injuries. And there's a conversation going on between me and a couple people that I talk to on X. Nothing mean or ill-willed. We just have differing opinions about how we feel about the injuries. Some people are like, hey, short term, not a problem. Preseason, you're overblowing it. And I'm looking at it as, man, it's only August. We have so many people hurt.
Yep.
What does that say about the season? Like, we're so thin in so many places, and guys can't even get through training camp or a preseason game. It's like the same kind of injuries all the time. Tissue, soft tissue injuries, lower leg. I've talked to this with Raj before about like he swears to God that he doesn't see enough stretching.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And he's just, it's like, man, Al, this has been a problem for like the whole Lynch Shanahan regime. They always have so many injuries. And it's not, and I'm not it's not me spazzing like, oh, I'm overblowing it. I mean, did we just had last season, which was an unmitigated disaster with injuries to like anybody you could think of that's important on this team. And I'm overblowing it because I'm thinking, man, it's, what is it? August 11th. The season starts in about a month. And we're like at the point where we might not even be able to have our scheduled, joint practice with the Raiders because we don't have enough players. Like, apparently it's a problem.
It's a problem. I saw from 2 different sources last year, the Niners were the number 1 most injured team in the league. They were the number 1 most injured team in 2020, the COVID year. We know that. Some of the injuries, though, yes, you saw, the thing actually that bothered me, I'll take a step back first, is the number of players that came into camp after 40 days off hurt or with something lingering, like even like the Pearsall thing. I understand like the acclimating him back after, we're not going to throw him into practice, let him get 3 days, his conditioning. I get that. But, Ben Barch and There was a handful of players that are coming into camp injured. What are you doing, guys? Yes,
Yeah.
you can get injured working out. You can get injured walking down a step, taking a bad step off a curb. I get it. But one, even offensive linemen, I mean, a lot of them are fat slobs, but they're still athletes. They're still good enough athletes to play in the NFL that you shouldn't, after a month plus, knowing that you want to, get your body as right as you can, not going balls to the wall and trying to hurt yourself, but coming into camp hurt. And then you see the injuries that the Niners have. Yes, with Jennings, it's the calf, and Pearsall had the hamstring. But now you're seeing Jordan Watkins with an ankle, and Guerrero, it was his shoulder.
That he didn't have an injury after the game, but miraculous, he had one this morning. Like, what? How?
But I hate to say, at least Jordan James broke his finger. I mean, now you see Robert Beal has a groin issue. Tatum Bethune left the game, linebacker, with like a knee bruise. He came back. Evan Anderson on the D-line, knee bruise. He's coming back. Cowling's coming back. So it's almost like it feels like a 50-50 split between soft tissue and then just bad luck. Someone got blasted on a joint, on a finger somewhere, and something broke or popped out, whatever. It's a violent game, but we're not following other teams as much as San Francisco to understand, out of the other 31 teams, how many teams are hurt even 80% of what the Niners are, 90, 75. I'm sure there are teams out there. All we know is, as fans and as tracking it, it seems, you said it, it's a consistent thing. And I would just love to see data that, what's the mean, what's the average in terms of preseason injuries or month one, month two for the NFL as a whole, and where do the Niners stand? But it just feels like this is a team that is always searching for better strength and conditioning, and you're never going to get out of preseason or most games, right? Regular season, preseason, without somebody getting banged up. But the number, and we saw it just on how much churn at the bottom of the roster. You got to release this position because we're short here. Got to release, bringing in 5 guys at a time, releasing 5. It's more than it seems like it should be.
My biggest issue is when people say, well, look at the Bills. They got a lot of injuries right now. They're hurt. I'm like, I don't care if somebody's having a one-off training camp.
Yeah.
And we have this is all the time.
Mm-hmm.
People are talking about a one-off thing, like, oh, this team has a ton of injuries during camp. Yeah, but they have them all the time during the season, where like a majority of their players are hurt, and it's always in a built-in excuse every time the Niners have a down year. Like, it's a thing with the Niners. It's not just me being an overly negative fan, which I can be at times. It's to me, it's a problem, and it's not an overblown thing. And like other teams, maybe they're having a bad training camp this year, but like, this isn't just a training camp thing. This is like an every year thing. Even in years where we were successful. Remember the 2019 season? I mean, we lost a good amount of players during that season. Ronald Blair, he tore his knee in a game where he went to make a tackle on Russell Wilson and somehow flipped and fell and hurt his knee. And it was just like, wait, what? And just random stuff like that. I don't know, man. Like this whole thing where we're comparing a team that has had one bad training camp or one bad off season and tried to make it a comparison to the Niners who have this issue all the time. It's not the same thing.
No, not at all. And have you heard anything? Because I was actually looking myself. There's been no rumblings about the joint practice being in jeopardy, has there?
No, not as. I listened a little bit to the press conference, but it was more like a mash unit.
He's got to rattle them off. Yeah.
Oh my God. The Watkins one really gets to me because it's like, oh, he was fine after the game, and then somehow he woke up and he was sore, and then we did an MRI and he had a high ankle sprain. Like, did the trainers miss it during the game? Are they that bad and that inept? Every time I see the Niners trainer come up onto the field, I posted a GIF of the Three Stooges as doctors.
Yep.
Mo, Larry, and Curly. I'm like, this is I'm like, when I watch these guys, I'm like, are these just people? Like, who are these people? Are they any good at their job? Because everybody's always hurt under these particular, strength and conditioning guys. So like, I don't, when I see them, there's a little bit of like a crooked grin that I give them when I see them come onto the field, because it's just it's all the time, all the time.
I wonder how much Kyle acknowledges that, or if it's just his philosophy to not play anybody in preseason, because you saw Broncos starters play when the Eagles played the Bengals. Joe Burrow and the first line offense was out there. Kyle is not going to play anybody important in the preseason at all. And whether that's, again, his philosophy or he's acknowledged historically how how the team loses players at inopportune times. You don't want to say, well, let an undrafted rookie free agent, take a beating they're trying to put stuff on tape, either for the Niners or somebody else. Like Derek Canteen at safety played, I think, 60 something snaps. I think he played every snap on defense. Highly doubt he's going to make the team, but at least he's putting tape out there for either ending up on the practice squad or another team. But, Jason Pinnock only had maybe 15 snaps. I know Siegel played some. Richie Grant was hurt. So they're going to use and abuse as many young players. Robbie Chosen being brought in. He's got no chance of making the team at all. And listen, if you
Jeff Wilson Jr. is back.
Who is?
Jeff Wilson Jr. is back, man. Let's bring them all back. Let's bring them Mostert.
Well, why wasn't he brought in initially instead of Amir Abdullah? Like, not that if I was Jeff Wilson, I wouldn't be insulted. Like, oh, you didn't want me. You chose somebody else. Of course you want the potential paycheck because it's not guaranteed money, but Amir Abdullah, welcome to the team. 5 steps in, you're hurt on IR. Goodbye. Like like you can't make this stuff up, but that was still, I don't understand why Jeff Wilson wasn't chosen over him to begin with.
Would you be against, and somebody argued with me on social media, like they just changed strength and conditioning 2 years ago. I'm like, I don't care. To me,
well,
you
last year was terrible. So
you change it till you get it right.
Right.
You should throw money at it until it happens. I'm sorry. Just because you pay for something and you check it off as I did it, doesn't mean like you go to work, right? You have suck ass freaking coworkers who suck at their job. They may do their job and it's done, but they still do a bad job. It's a bad job. You know what I mean? He did it. That's great, but he did really bad at it. Same thing with them. They threw money at it a couple years ago. That doesn't mean anything. It's still a problem. Fix it. I don't care. They don't look at it that way, and that's the part that is an aggravating thing to me. Is it's hard to get emotionally invested and emotionally excited for this team when it's like, man, every day, every practice, somebody that could do some good on this team that would help us, win games, do this, do that. They're hurt. After a while, it becomes almost like I'm going to disconnect until September because I'm getting frustrated.
Well, at least it makes you hedge your bets a little bit, right? Like going into the season,
I said
you're
it
on guard in terms of how well they're going to perform or not. So
I said it on social media last night. I said the Niners fans better, the 49er fans, if this injury thing keeps going as is, we need to start redoing what we think is an expectation for this team, regardless of how easy to schedule. If you can't field a healthy team
right
on a week-to-week basis, I don't care if you're playing a high school team. You need players. People, next man up. That is the dumbest. I hate the next man up mentality. When you go from a guy who's it's like saying, oh, George Kittle's out for the year. He tore his something. Next man up. No, not even close. All pro, one of the greatest tight ends ever in the history of the game. Probably is going to be a Hall of Famer, first ballot. No next man up. Doesn't work like that. They're starters for a reason. They're stars for a reason. I hate that. It's one of the worst. I hate hearing that.
Players and coaches know that. I mean, they have no other choice. The other choice, what's your choice? Not fielding a tight end?
Right.
Literally,
we're just not going to put anybody in.
Next man on the depth chart up. It's next man up, not next man even, right? Like it's obviously if you can get 70% of George Kittle's production out of Luke Farrell, which I highly doubt if an injury ever arises.
You could put every tight end backup that we have on the team together and they won't equal what George Kittle can do by himself. That's pretty pathetic.
And whether it's Kyle not drawing up plays for them or Brock not trusting them, it's still criminal to not have a tight end that you can get an easy 15 to 20 receptions a year. That's not asking a lot out of a backup tight end. One catch a game from your backup tight end. You're telling me that's too hard to come by? Anybody that's watching live, thank you for joining, or later I've re-recorded. Go back and look at all the tight ends the last 4 or 5 years and tell me if you can find one that's had more than 15 receptions in a season.
Yeah. Heck, didn't the Niners have at one point, they had wow, Brent Jones, and I think they had not Jamie Williams. Didn't they have there was another guy. He ended up playing for the Carolina Panthers. Forget his name. His name's escaping me right now.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know who you're talking
about. You know
about,
exactly what I'm talking about.
Wesley Walls.
Yeah. He was a decent tight end too. That's probably the last time we had 2 tight ends on the roster at the same time who could actually, you could say that, comparable talent.
Davis and Delaney.
But Delaney was strictly a blocker. He had stone hands. Like if you threw it to him,
they developed more in Tennessee. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk offensive line. Looked pretty bad during the game. Spencer Burford is not a left tackle. He needs to get out of. I don't know with the injuries now, with certain guys coming back from injury, if that experiment is going to end. Kyle says it wasn't his fault. It was a snap issue. This, that, and the other. I don't buy it. Anybody with a pair of eyes could have watched that game and knows that he doesn't have fast feet. He shouldn't be a tackle. He barely can be a guard in the National Football League. So I don't know. What was your thought on the offensive line? How bad it was?
I'm going to take the other stance, and I'm not an optimist. I think backups are backups for a reason. That's totally fine. This is not why Jalen Moore got $15 million a year from the Chiefs, because he's not worth that, but he is better than Spencer Burford, if for no other reason than he was actually playing and devoted time to left tackle the past 2 or 3 years, backing up Trent Williams. But per Pro Football Focus, research I've done, what I've read, those 2 plays were the only 2 pressures Burford let up all game. And they were back-to-back on Nick Bonito, someone who had 13.5 sacks last year. I think you can get a pass there. Now, the right tackle, Austin Pleasance, 1 pressure all game. The offensive line as a whole, 7 pressures all game. So I think the O-line getting shit on for those back-to-back plays on Burford, it looked worse than it was because they were back-to-back plays. If they were spaced out by a quarter, would we be thinking as badly about Spencer Burford? No. Another one of those tackles in college, transitioned to guard in the NFL, now back to tackle, mainly due to what they have on the roster. But between Burford and Pleasance, Isaiah Prince got some run at tackle. Isaac Alarcon who'll make the practice squad as the 17th international pathway player, I believe. And they're still waiting on Andre Dillard, and he came off the PUP list today. They'll still find 2 tackles, and Burford is guaranteed to make the roster. I don't care how bad he looks the next 2 games, practices, or whatever. He can play tackle and guard. When you're a backup, versatility keeps you on the roster, and Chris Forster likes him. So I think the O-line dog waterness is a bit overblown. 1, with the number of hurries, 2, who Burford got beaten by. But is this a deep offensive line? No, but someone's also got to present me with a couple deep offensive linemen where a team's got a solid swing tackle, or even a number 4 tackle, or a solid starter level guard or center. I don't necessarily think it exists. This is compounded by the fact that we know the Niners don't put significant resources in the offensive line, but I don't think the offensive line is going to be a top 12 to top 16 unit. Probably what PFF metrics when it's all said and done. They don't believe in it the way the Lions and the Chiefs and the Eagles do, and that's okay. But I think recency bias is playing a little bit into this.
Do you think that needs to change? Do you think that they need to reallocate reallocate resources to offensive line going forward in the next couple of years? I mean,
no, I do. I mean, listen, well, because next year Colton McKivitz is gone. There's no way he's going to sign a team-friendly deal with what like Aaron Banks and Jalen Moore got. There's no way. And what if Trent Williams retires? There's a world out there where the Niners have 2 new offensive tackles in 2026, which is why coming out of the draft, I was shocked that they did not what they did last year with certain positions, think a year ahead, and in the second, third, fourth, fifth round, draft a tackle for the future. One offensive lineman in the 7th at guard was not going to address the needs in the future for the team, and let alone an immediate need in terms of a swing tackle. But is a 3rd, 4th, 5th round rookie going to beat out someone that's got experience like a Jalen Moore or Austin Pleasance, limited experience, but has NFL experience? Andre Dillard, limited experience, but has NFL experience. So again, I don't know if this is Kyle and Forrester's, let's lean on veterans more so than bringing in young players, but they certainly had enough picks. They did not move up. They did not trade up for it. They used all 11 picks, which I didn't think they would, but to not take a tackle of the future as an option, nobody's a sure thing, but as an option, I don't want to say was criminal, but was ridiculously surprising.
Yeah, it was. And my whole thing was making a joke out of it at the end of the draft. Like, I tweeted something like, "Hey, look, we picked an offensive lineman." It's like,
Colby better make the team if they're going to make
right. It's not that funny of a joke when your quarterback has been hurt over the last couple of years at different points because people can't block for him. So haha now, or haha during the draft in the middle of April, but come the season, you might not be laughing. So that I didn't like that too much. One of the other things that I guess is already decided, which I already thought it would be, because I never thought it was a real competition, was the kicker situation. To me, it was a dog and pony show. It was just for like, hey, we got a kicker competition. Yeah. But he was always going to be the kicker coming out of it. To me, it's a joke. It was never serious. People are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, did you really think Jake Moody was going to lose out to Joseph? I didn't. Even if the guy hit every field goal, they'd still. I don't know. To me, I'm a little irritated by it because it's just like, again, the Niners do this thing where they think people are stupid, and they like try to pull the wool over the fans' eyes. Like, oh yeah, look, we had a competition over here. Pay attention to us over here. But I don't know. What was your thoughts on it?
If it was close, it was always going to be Moody, right? And it was close. Right. Joseph did outperform him by like 1 or 2 more field goals, made nothing drastic. And I do believe Joseph would still be on the roster if the injuries weren't so extensive that they needed to release players to supplement other positions. Right. So when it's all said and done, are any of us comfortable with Jake Moody? No, he only had 1 attempt in the game and it was an extra point. We didn't see him kicking and how much pressure our preseason game is going to be. He's still like, let's make no mistake too, though. He's still kicking for his job. Just because there's no one on the roster doesn't mean they can't cut his ass if he just plays like garbage in practice, in whatever joint practice are going to mean, but in preseason games or even the first month of the season, they can bring someone else in. Kyle and John, you have 16 spots on your practice squad. Devote 1 to a goddamn kicker, because someone like a Tariq Owens will never see the field. He shouldn't be on a practice squad. You can look at the practice squad from years past, and there's at least 3 or 4 players where you go, even if the earth opens up and swallows the team, these players will still not be starters the next week when the Niners have to stay on the field. So why not? I mean, maybe it's not that big of a deal in between a week and bringing in a kicker on a Wednesday, have a little tryout, and then, bench Moody, put him on IR or whatever. But you got 16 spots, man. Just put a goddamn kicker on the practice squad. And if you need to make a swap out.
Why is Tariq Owens getting another shot? I don't understand it.
Who's that?
Tariq Owens. He's never going to make the team.
Listen, I'm sure what percentage of it
me and you talk about whatever all the time. We talk about Nepo stuff all the time with people in media or people in sports. He is that. I mean, if that isn't a Nepo roster spot, I don't know what is. You know what I mean? But
well, I mean, I guess both him and Carter Bradley are Nepo roster spots.
100%.
Carter Bradley in no way, shape, or form should be. I mean, he should be in an NFL training camp. But even with, so you're telling me with Tanner Mordecai's year in the system, you would still, for preseason, you'd still rather see what Carter Bradley can do than how Tanner Mordecai can grow?
Right.
And they were both bad. I mean, all 3 quarterbacks threw picks. right? I mean, Tanner Mordecai probably threw the worst one when he was doing that whirling dervish crap. And instead of throwing it at a, like he could have, if he was trying to throw it to a receiver near the sideline, there were 3 Broncos around him. That was bad. If he was trying to throw it out of bounds, that was a fail. He just happened to throw it to a Bronco. Like that was bad. Plus the fumble was bad, but you could just, I don't care what Kyle saw from Carter Bradley. He's like, oh, we took a look at his 38 snaps from last preseason. Like, let's give him a shot. Yeah. Because if his name was Carter Smith, he would also be on the team as well. Right. Like, but you could just tell watching him play, like slow delivery, can't take anything off the fastball, accuracy, spot. Like,
guys are wide open and he's missing them.
I would rather see Tanner Mordecai. At least he's mobile. Again, he's been in the system longer. And Carter Bradley's only been with the team for a month. I get it. But that's all the more reason why he should get the fuck out, because he's a nothing. He's a nothing.
No, he's bad. He's real bad. Let's talk about something we both felt watching that game, especially with Chase Lucas. The presence of Robert Saleh. It's palpable. You could feel it. It was amazing, dude. As much as I am negative and I'm really on the Niners with injuries and I don't think they, pay attention to certain things, or they don't, prioritize certain things. I could tell you, man, having Saleh back there, even with the number 2 defense and given a number 1 offense fits, you would have never seen that last year with our previous defensive coordinator.
And I wish since it was a Niner home game, it was, the Niners announcers, and I wish they would have flashed to Saleh more. We saw some of the enthusiasm. He almost got trucked by one of his own players, I think, on the safety that Chase Lucas had. He was coming on the field. You saw the excitement. And I think it's so important for a team with so many new and young players to see a coach that's going to feed off you, and then in turn, you can feed off him. So I did not think he would have run back to become under Kyle's wing again, but he didn't get a head coaching job, and whatever other DC openings that he might have been interested in, if there were any. I know the Niners threw a decent amount of money at him, and I'm hoping he interviews poorly after this.
Yeah, I don't think he's head coaching material. I think he's a great defensive coordinator. He's a really good guy, and he's a really nice guy, and he's always complimentary of his players, never throws anybody under the bus. I just think when it comes to like having to run the whole thing, top to bottom roster, all that stuff, it's different.
It is. And like, I think the Jets are an organization that, outside of, Bill Parcells in the 90s, like, you need a historic type of coach to wash the stink off that franchise, right? Like, I don't want to say it's more luck, but it's shocking with what Dan Campbell's has done with Detroit. It's shocking that Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland, that he's still there, and they're the Browns and they're so bad and dysfunctional. Like, Carolina is probably going to go through another coach in a year or two. So Saleh going to the Jets versus going somewhere more reputable definitely played into it. Look how the Jets fell off once he left, right? They were like, 2-3 when he left, and then the whole season went to absolute crap. So yeah, he very good motivator. You see it on TV. Like they make a point to show it. And he's definitely a leader of men. He's more head coaching material than Mike McDaniel. Another year of the Dolphins making the playoffs and losing in the wild card round or not getting it at all. He should be gone. It's okay to be Norv Turner, right? It's okay to be really good at a specific job.
Yep.
Not everybody's a head coach.
That's my brother's squad.
Saleh needs that head coach paycheck, though, man. 8 kids. Just had his 8th this offseason. He needs that head coach paycheck.
8 kids. Wow. Somebody needs to have a talk with him, man.
Some people love large families, and if you're going to be, making whatever the Jets are still paying him in the Niners, you could afford to have 8 kids.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you could. Yeah, if you're making that kind of money, I call it FU money, like for the rest of your life. Have 20. Just don't be like that one family and have like 20 kids. Then you're really pushing. it. One of the guys that I think we talked about earlier, Um, guys that I think are pretty much a lock to be a starter. D Winters. I think he has emerged from what he was. At least right now, he looks like the solid linebacker that's going to play across from Fred Warner. Any thoughts on him? I mean, are you okay with that? Because I think it's. I mean, from all the reports of what he looks like in camp, from guys like Sterling Bennett and Raj, he seems like he's the guy at linebacker too.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to suit up in a preseason game because it can only hurt his chances, right? Like he's the quarterback coming out in the draft that decides not to throw at the combine because my tape's there, guys. I don't need to have a bad showing. I don't have to run the 40. I don't have to do anything. I've cemented myself as a top 10 pick based on who's behind him. D Winters really doesn't have to do anything. Just keep performing in camp. Don't get hurt. You don't need to play in a preseason game. Let Gifford and Jalen Graham and Nick Martin and Curtis Robinson, good to see he's back, and Tatum Bethune. Let those other guys get these reps.
Tatum Bethune looked pretty solid.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's D Winters' job to lose. Now he's another one that's been, nicked up in his first 2 years, but I would be totally comfortable with that. Again, been in the system for 2 years. This is just a derivation of that system with Robert Saleh coming in versus trusting it to a free agent like Gifford or a rookie like Martin. And their times, or Martin's time, may come. It's just not yet. And that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. It's such a juxtaposition from what I want to ask you now is like, okay, so you have D Winters. He doesn't really have anybody really pushing him. And then you kind of look at the other side of it with Nick Martin, what we saw, him and Alfred Collins. Collins struggled somewhat in that game. Again, missed a lot of time in camp, so he's behind. But the Nick Martin thing was glaring, He is the definition of hit or miss. And there were a lot of miss in that game. And he was a third round linebacker, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's it was pretty eye opening. I don't know. You seem like you're a little bit more level headed where you're willing to give people the benefit of the doubt over time. What was your thoughts on seeing him? Because I was like, wow, he's missing some tackles.
Yeah,
not even just missing them, but completely running out of plays.
He overran plays. He splashed. I think he was second or third on the team in tackles. He probably could have led the team in tackles if he cleaned up some of the other ones. First game against, well, they had a joint practice with Denver, but first real live action against players that are not on his team, getting different looks from the offense. The Broncos O-line, probably better than what I don't know how many starters were playing at the point where Nick Martin was in, but better than the O-line that the Niners are showing in training camp. Reminiscent of Dre Greenlaw, his first year, same kind of linebacker. Martin's a little bit bigger. Hair bigger. And the same thing with D Winters. Like, you're coming in, it's fast. You're learning a new scheme. You're going up against pros, whereas you might have been one of the best players on the field at Oklahoma State in every game you were in. You are not that now. So for him to acclimate and to trust his eyes and his feel, shed blocks better, take better angles, don't feel like you have to run 1,000 miles an hour at a tackle and get juked out of your pants. Run 800 miles an hour and settle down and break down and wrap up. All things that he will get better at. The thought that he was going to be, that there were going to be so many potential rookie starters on defense always baffled my mind. It was going to max out at 2 or 3.
Yep.
2 or 3. And in time, do you add a fourth just based on merit? Sure. In time, do you add a fourth based on injury? Probably, the way this team goes. So, right now it may be Michael Williams when his ankle gets right, and if Upton Stout wins the slot, and then maybe it's probably going to be maybe CJ West that's going to get more run than Alfred Collins. Right now, things can change. On the defensive line, but no worries about any of these rookies, no matter how bad or good anybody looks. It's just one game.
It is. It's one game, and it's one off season, and it's one training camp. It's funny. You're right about with these guys in college, they're the best player on the field. In the NFL, in college, you can rely just on your
Yeah.
athleticism,
Yep.
and you're going to be better than 90% of people. When you get in the NFL, you got to worry about scheme, how teams are looking to screw with you mentally. Like, oh, he likes to over pursue. He's not big on contain guys they rush a certain way, they lose contain on the rush, or linebackers that over pursue. They're going to do stuff within the offensive scheme to target guys. They don't do that in college. College is just like, all right, we have a bunch of uh, top tier recruits on one team, and another team has got a bunch of people that probably are good enough to play at a community college, and they look like a $1 million in college. Yeah, it's I mean, for me, it was like, man, if they pick Nick Martin, they must really see him as the Greenlaw replacement. And so in my mind,
Yep.
I'm thinking, okay, this guy's going to be the next Greenlaw. No, not yet. Maybe at some point, but
Well, for one reason for sure, he's not the next Greenlaw. He's actually healthy.
that's right. He's hurt
He's
again.
actually healthy right now. But
And
you
I
know,
call
and that's
that.
why like some of these rookies, everything's happening so fast. And it's going to sound stupid when I say it, like they need to slow down, whether it's the body, whether it's jumping too quickly, taking a certain angle, the mental processing, everything has to slow down because, all those Patriot teams with Belichick and running the defense with Romeo Crennel and they never had at each level the most talented defense in the NFL. It was always do your job, right? Do your job, make sure that you're, just as strong as the person next to you. And they were always difficult defenses to beat. When that mentality meets talent, then you get the Legion of Boom Seattle defense, right? Everybody knows how to do their job. The linebackers, the linemen, the corners, the secondary, all highly, highly talented people, athletes that knew how to do their job. And when they were doing it that well, you saw like a 2-3 year run that was unprecedented defensively. So that's I'm sure where the Niners want to get, but they're going to have to go through some growing pains with whoever.
We talked about this. We talked about this post draft that everyone's like, oh, the Niners are going to win this many games, and they're going to be back in the playoffs, and it's just like I talked about this with Sterling too. Like this defense is going to have some growing pains, man.
Absolutely.
Especially if, you say maybe 3, what if eventually 4 or 5 are in there starting? There's going to be some games where you're going to give up 35 points because guys are blowing assignments or missing tackles, or people are just not playing up to the level that we're used to, that this team has put out on tape over the last, handful of years when they had guys like Saleh or they had guys like D'Amico as their defense coordinator. And like you can see it kind of a little bit with Nick Martin. It's like, okay, I said it, and now it looks like it's something that if he was thrust into a starting position, man, definitely going to be some growing pains. I said it, not necessarily believing it, and now the more I see of him and like Alfred Collins looking a little bit overmatched, it's just like, wow, if they do get in there this season, we could struggle a little bit, and it's going to have to be something we have to go through as fans. We say one thing during the draft or post draft, but we didn't want to believe it. Maybe they'll exceed those expectations, but it's probably going to be closer to the previous statement, which is there's going to be growing pains, and we just got to learn to deal with it as fans.
There's going to be, and I think what should help or accelerate the learning curve is, per Robert Saleh's admission, they play a simple defense.
They do.
They don't. It's not a vanilla Nick Sorensen defense.
Rush
it's
4,
cover 3. It's not complicated. There aren't as many moving parts as there might be for some other defensive units. So less theoretically for each player to learn and understand. Now, you can run a simple defense, but the offense you're facing could put you in situations where you do blow an assignment. There's a bad read or a miscommunication, whatever it may be. Saleh being there, though, as opposed to if Sorensen was held over, or say even a Gus Bradley or another new defensive coordinator, the leader he is, the motivator, the knowledge of the system that he wants to run. And it's only what, Bosa and Warner that are there from when he was there in his last stint. they do have some veterans between those two. And you're talking about, Pinnock coming in, or Demo, Renardo Green in his second year, Yator is in his second year with the team. There are still some players that they can lean on that can help the younger players. Again, I keep saying it's not an expansion team. They're not trotting out mid to low tier players across the defense or across the offense, which is why I still think this is a 10 or 11 win team.
Healthy.
Assuming they stay relatively healthy.
Healthy. If you just take a look at just the secondary, healthy. Green flashed last year, Renardo Green. Demo is legit.
Mm-hmm.
Mustafa looked pretty good last year. Now you plug in a guy like, say, Sigel or Sigel, whatever his name. Boom, your secondary. Then you look at, like you said, we want one. It's one game, but Lucas looked okay. We got something there, maybe. Plus, Upton Stout. A lot of people are saying he looks pretty good. And then if guys up front start playing a little bit better and they stay healthy, this defense can, I think, and with having Salah here, I think they could grow into something. Maybe not this year, but like they have the physical talent is there, especially in the secondary. Like they're not trotting out a bunch of bums in that secondary. They're actually pretty decent. Like Diamador Lenore is underrated as a corner. As a corner. Mustafa played well last year. It's the health, man. These guys, they use their body as a weapon. And it's just like you got to learn to tackle sometimes.
It starts with the run defense. That's what was so bad last year, and even worse the last month of the season last year.
It was so bad.
And against Denver, they gave up, I think it was like 34 for 156. Preseason game 1, you take it with a grain of salt. But I think you'd walk away from the preseason game feeling better, if it was 34 for 98. I think that's like the Niners line. The Niners didn't crack 100 yards rushing. You would maybe want to see the weakest part of the team maybe overperform week 1 in the preseason.
Yeah.
But they performed like it was December of 2024.
CJ West looked pretty good.
He did.
Michael, everybody says Michael is performing well in camp. If you could somehow get on a third down rush, if you could somehow get Bosa, Michael Williams, CJ West, and
get Huff on the other end.
And Huff. So you'd kick Michael in because that's what they want to do. It's a pretty, and then you think of the secondary. It's intriguing. It's intriguing. As a fan, I'm intrigued. It's when there's no bad stuff to go on, you can be lulled into a feeling of, oh, maybe we got something here. We haven't seen nothing yet, so nothing can deter that thought. But it is intriguing. It's just the health, man. Gotta stay healthy. Got to get to the regular season. That's what I'm trying to say.
At least there's 2 weeks between the last preseason game and week 1.
And there's one less preseason game, right?
What's that?
There's only 3 preseason games, right?
Yeah, only 3, and then they got a 2-week break until they go to Seattle. But there's practices. People can get hurt there. But listen, I hear you, and that's why I'm sure like Renardo Green was supposed to come back this week. He's at least another week away. Which I'm okay with. There's no reason to push it.
There's no need to use him right now. See, he's proven he's a good player in the National Football League.
And they haven't had really any other, and Demo wasn't going to play in the preseason anyway, so it doesn't matter. But they have enough numbers at corner that why bother? Even at receiver, I know there's been a lot of.
I know if we could just get a little bit healthy.
Right. They still have 7 healthy to go into the next game, which if this was a regular season game, they wouldn't suit up more than 5. So numbers wise, they're okay. They just can't sustain more.
As a starting unit, they're intriguing. You get Ayuk, you get Jennings, you get Demarcus Robinson, you get
Pearsall. Yeah.
Pearsall. Then you have Kittle at tight end. Watkins, if he can get healthy and stay healthy. And McCaffrey. I hate that I got to be this guy. This is how I try to trick myself into being positive. I start thinking of things if everybody's healthy. And then I remember that they're not, and I get mad again. But that's where I got to go with this. It is intriguing. Intriguing.
Ayuk, I know you saw it today.
Could be back by week 6.
Week 6 is a possibility, which is fine.
As late as week 10.
4-week pup. They ramp him up for 2 weeks. So I'm sure I would think he's going to play sometime in October. So that would probably mean week 7 or 8.
Okay.
Not going to rush it back. I know someone in the chat, made the comment of when are they going to make a ruling on Demarcus Robinson's suspension? They already ruled Rice's, right? He got like a whole bunch of community service, no jail time. And I don't know what Addison wound up getting, but the NFL's got a lot of stuff going on.
They don't even have a head of their player, like whatever. They have like a representative for the players association. I don't even know if they have one right now, which is kind of crazy.
Something today. Didn't Kyle say something like, because he was asked straight up about it, that Robinson's appealing something? He used the word appeal.
He's going for an appeal. Maybe to length it to maybe 1 game, 2 games.
Something, I guess, has come down where the NFL has punished him somehow. You don't appeal nothing, you appeal something. So how long the appeals process is or whatnot. But he's super important for the Ayuk situation and the Jennings situation as well. And since you are a pessimistic person I'm more pessimistic than optimistic, are you buying that it's the calf and not the contract? If you had to weigh out percentages, what percent for him not being on the field is the calf and what percent is the contract?
I think it's 50-50, right down the middle. In the beginning, I thought it was more like 90-10 contract. But from what they're saying, I mean, he did some side work. So would you practice if you didn't have a new contract? I mean, and you were...
he was practicing initially, right? And then he stopped. It would be a weird... Like, what's the train of thought that you're going to start practicing and then be like, nah, I'm good until I get a contract? You would just either go
maybe something is bothering him and he just doesn't want to risk even rehabbing it.
Well, I mean, I think the calf was put the exclamation point on, oh crap, I felt something. I shouldn't push it, especially when you have a teammate who went through the same thing last year in both his legs and he had to go to Germany to get it fixed up. And he was out for, the first 10 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it was. So they're being super cautious. Then you're coming off of the NBA season where it's Jason Tatum blows out his Achilles and what's his face from Indiana and the final blows out at Halburn. So there's a lot of warning signs out there that he shouldn't be messing with that. And I think he's doing the right thing. But the contract, to say that the contract's not part of it would be disingenuous.
You brought up the Legion of Boom in your talk, or one of your last things when you were talking about, what they became in a small window. When you said that, I thought of the clip that I have here, and it's Richard Sherman kind of talking about Brock Purdy's mindset, and I wanted to play it before we end with the obvious talk about another quarterback they used to play here that people can't seem to forget about. But I wanted to play this clip real quick.
You got Christian back. He looks very explosive. He looks good. Obviously, they're holding him back and taking care of him. George looks as good as he's ever been. Trent looks amazing. How important is that, just to start the season? You guys don't have, fingers crossed, knock on wood, the distractions of the holdouts and all that. You got your contract done, and everybody's just rolling, ready to go. The expectations there, the energy's there. How exciting is it?
Yeah, it's been nice. Get our deals done and whatnot, yes, and now get back to work with all of us, really, George, Fred, myself. And so now for us, we feel healthy, we feel good. Guys are all practicing. Christian looks great. Obviously, not having him last year and what he can do within our offense, man, it's, as a quarterback, it's like, man, would love to have this Hall of Famer in the backfield with me. The way he runs the ball, the way we can split him out, throw him the ball. And then it just opens up other guys too, man, like George and JJ, Ricky Pearsall, all those other guys can now come into their role and play really well. And it's crazy what one guy can do. So having him back and healthy is great. But I think overall we have some new faces and a new really team that we're trying to find our identity right now during this period of time. But it's all guys that have chip on their shoulders and we got to go prove ourselves, which is a good thing.
That might not have been the clip that I wanted. He was talking about having a chip. And he was talking about when he came into the league, how he had a chip on his shoulder being the last pick. And Richard Sherman talked about how he had a chip on his shoulder too when he played constantly. So I don't know what that clip was. I thought I downloaded the right one, but I mean, hey, Brock's thinking about what it could be like to have everybody healthy and playing. So We were just talking about that. So what the hell?
Absolutely. He just came through a season in 2024 where that wasn't the case. And he saw what this offense and this team could be when
Yeah.
they're relatively healthy in 2023. And as an aside, don't you kind of love how like Sherman in a lot of ways identifies more as a former Niner than a former Seahawk? Like
For a
he'll
guy
never
that hated him
when he
after
goes
the
into
2014 NFC Championship game, and that was
Yep.
mother
like
and
it
him
just,
like you.
how like he, and it was, the Niners signed him. They showed him some respect and love with the money, an integral part of going to that Super Bowl. And has just always talks highly of Lynch and Shanahan and the organization, stays close with the players and stuff. That's just interesting when, you were public enemy number one with the whole Crabtree thing. And
Crabtree ended up being a total scrub. He was right.
and it's, yeah. And he wasn't, a gun for hire. Like he's invested in the Niners now, which is interesting to see.
Man, and it's funny too, is like I would love to see him be a coach one day because his knowledge of the game is, for what he had as athleticism, he wasn't the fastest corner. So a lot of his corner skills were based on studying and being in certain positions on the field. Him teaching young men how to play defensive back would be, they would all have swag too. Like they would all be super mouthy, cocky guys, which you don't understand. I love guys that are cocky in the defensive backfield. Certain positions, you got to be a diva. A wide receiver and a corner. Those are the two positions on a team that if you're a diva, I'm okay with as a person who thinks you should just shut your mouth and play, because I'm kind of an old school person. When it comes to those two positions, give me a guy like Richard Sherman any day of the week, because it messes with people. It works. Trash talk works. So I don't know.
Cool. Like, secondary, you have to have a short memory, right? Like if you're to be uber confident, knowing that you're going to get beat sometimes, you just have to win the battle more often than not, and then immediately shake it off because the next play's coming, the next play's coming, the next play's coming.
You're going to be all in your own head, and guys are going to be running past you still. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about, of course, is the Trey Lance delusion, man. Oh my God. Louis Riddick. Somebody, I said that the Cone Click is behind it, like that's a burner account that they took over or something. It has to be, because this whole thing of like Trey Lance was not with a team that respected him, and not, being with an organization of people, they actually like respect him and want to give him a real opportunity, and this and that. And they paint the Niners in this, like they're the bad guys and like they screwed him over. I'm just so sick and tired of talking about a guy who's a third string quarterback at best. And I think Lombardi said it best, like, and I know you're kind of like on the fence with him, like that, like it I forget exactly what he said, but like happens. People get hurt. Someone comes in, is better, and then you're gone. Like that's part of the NFL. What happened to Tom? We would have never knew about Tom Brady if what's his name?
Bledsoe didn't get blasted.
Bledsoe didn't get blasted and hurt his, blow out his spleen or whatever he ended up hurting. Like, what are you gonna do, man? Like, leave the guy in the game who can't play just because you want to be nice to him, or do you want to go win football games with somebody who probably doesn't have a tenth of the physical traits, but mentally is far superior?
He's I think the whole Trey Lance thing has been so fascinating, because I knew we were going to talk about him just thinking about it. And I'm just going to go back just like to 2017 when Kyle came in. He inherited Kaepernick and didn't want to go that route, right? Rather would have had Brian Hoyer, drafted CJ Beathard. I don't even know who their third string quarterback was. Doesn't even matter. And then a couple years later, wanted a Kaepernick type of player, right? If you're that, like, saw Josh Allen when they smashed him in Arizona, I think in one of the games, and there was all smog in San Francisco or whatever. It's like, oh, I want that dual threat type of player. Well, dude, you had him. You had Kaepernick, and he wasn't right for you, or maybe Kaepernick wanted to walk, or the whole kneeling the flag nonsense, whatever. But if you're that innovative of a mind, you should have been using that type of quarterback in 2017 and beyond, until you actually maybe found the right mode of quarterback, Kirk Cousins, whoever you wanted. So I think that's like one. Two, yeah, they trade up and then they swing and miss for Trey Lance. And you're right. And David Lombardi too, as much as he's a complete glazer, crap happens, right? Anybody that thought that it was a competition or that Trey Lance deserved a shot to compete, even with Brock blowing out his UCL in his elbow, was living in fantasy land. We saw all we needed to see in that from Miami through Philadelphia in the NFC Championship game, that this was Brock's team. And we can play revisionist history, or you can invent it and say, well, if Trey didn't get hurt, he could have been this and could have been that. And I know we're Star Wars fans, and I said this before. These are all people out there that think if George Lucas wrote and directed the sequels, they would have been better than what we got. Remember the prequels? Garbage. I know they're kind of loved now. Trash writing, trash directing. That's what you would have gotten with the sequels as well. But we will never know. But people will fantasize about it. Here's what we know, guys. Trey Lance requested to get traded. He admitted it. Lynch admitted it. Shanahan admitted it when he lost the backup job to Sam Darnold.
He was upset about it. They said he pitched a fit.
Yeah, left practice, went home. And that's okay. You could be upset. I get it. It's fine. But we do know he was with Dallas for 2 years and could not be the backup. Could not beat Cooper Rush out in 2 years. Now, he is in a good spot with Jim Harbaugh. If people are coming out saying Harbaugh is more of a leader than Shanahan, he's more of a rah. Yeah, he's more of a rah-rah guy. And he was able to turn Alex Smith around, who was more or less like on the verge of being a broken QB, and got him to help lead the team to an NFC Championship game in 2011. And then Kaepernick comes in. And Harbaugh was a quarterback. And if you've played the position, you'll have different insight than someone like a Shanahan or whatever. So I think he's building Lance back up the right way. But Lance is still battling to be a backup in this league. If you watch that first game, like Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico were talking about Trey Lance as if he was the starter for the Chargers. He's not. He might not even be the backup. And listen, it's okay. First-round quarterbacks are a 50-50 proposition at best. He's on his third team in 5 years. And yeah, any growth he showed in preseason game one, if they're going to attribute that to Harbaugh or whatever, how about the fact, guys, that it's the start of year 5 for him? I would expect him to be better or show some sort of growth the start of year 5 than his rookie year, year 2, year 3. So I have nothing against Trey Lance at all. I want him to succeed. I don't know him from Adam. I don't care. But anybody out there that thinks, well, he could have been a better quarterback than Brock, or look like he's a better quarterback than Brock now, like morons that are saying that.
Oh, God, I saw that.
Get your head out of your ass and just admit you were wrong. You backed the wrong horse, and it's not that big a deal because 50% or more of first-round quarterbacks fail. And the learning is, don't take a quarterback from a small school with only 1 year of starting experience. It ain't gonna work quickly. Nope. And it probably ain't gonna work ever.
Look at the Colts. They're a perfect example of it.
Nothing that Anthony Richardson did in college should have had him drafted in the first round. Nothing. But if he wasn't athletic, the fact that he could run, like, coaches amaze me. He couldn't do it at a lower level. But he's going to do it when everything's going to be more competitive. And I'll be the one to unlock him. I'm the greatest coach in the world. I'll unlock Anthony Richardson.
And I
don't want to say he's trash, because you got to be talented to play for Florida State. But he wasn't good at Florida State. And they traded up, or they drafted him in the first round 2 years ago. Again, that's why Carter Bradley's on the team. You take the nepotism aside, he's on the team for the arm, not the smarts and not the accuracy. That's like the allure of the arm, the allure of the athleticism, versus maybe evaluating a little bit differently.
The Trey Lance thing is like the Snyder people. Restore the Snyderverse. It's going to come back. I'm telling you. There's a guy, I tell you, you got to go watch this YouTube channel, man. His name is Harsh Critics. He wears a suit. He's got all these hashtags on his screen. One of them says, hashtags wallets closed. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse. And his whole channel is based on telling people how bad the current state of DC is and how close we are to getting back the Snyderverse. It's like, if you want to watch similar thing in the 49ers fan base, you guys already know what channels to go watch, because they're going to glaze Trey Lance's balls for every year that he's in the National Football League, and they're always going to be waiting for Brock Purdy to fall so they can say, "I told you so." I mean, if that isn't the lamest way to be as a human being, whether it is being a Snyder turd fan, I always tell people, even if the DCU fails and they have to, it's still not coming back. Right. What is Henry Cavill going to be 48 when he comes back and plays Superman? Like, are you kidding me? Just same thing with the Trey Lance lovers, man. They'll never let it die. I don't get it.
Well, listen, the Zack Snyder fans out there, they're all DCU. Nobody talks about Rebel Moon. Nobody talks about Sucker Punch. When Zack Snyder does not have a template like 300, like Watchmen, like established IPs. And listen, Man of Steel was entertaining. Justice League, I know Whedon came in, was entertaining. Like, I was entertained by them, but tonally, it's not at all what DC represents. Like, Marvel usurped that. Fun, comedic, hopeful, not too serious for the most part. But DC wanted to have this gritty and grounded. Like, what's grounded about an alien that can fly? What's grounded about a billionaire that's fighting crime, or someone that lives in the sea, or green? Like, there's nothing grounded about that. At least James Gunn has the right tone. And my kids, we went to see it. I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to say I'll leave you with this, because if you want to talk about it for a few minutes, by all means. I did also see Fantastic Four, and I thought that was the better movie.
You thought Fantastic Four was a better movie?
Fantastic Four was a better movie.
That's okay.
It's not going to make as much as Superman, but I thought it was a better film. More entertaining was Superman, more of a popcorn movie, but I thought Fantastic Four was just maybe more well done.
I've heard that for people. They give it a better rating. No, we're going to, I just, to bring it back over to the Niners is just like the Trey Lance people are just like those people that think someday, somehow, Zack Snyder's going to get back that IP. He's going to bring back all of your favorites. He's going to bring back Aquaman, Jason Momoa. He's going to leave from doing Lobo, which he just did in Supergirl, which comes out next year. And then they're going to recast them. They're going to recast them. And then they're going to have to probably recast Batman, because Affleck was nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? Like, same thing with the Trey Lance fans. It's all revisionist history. It's all the what ifs. Live in reality. Just like your reality is Brock Purdy, and it's going to be Brock Purdy for a long time. Just like Snyder fans, sticking in your ear.
That just like the Cone clique and the people that are still carrying water for Trey Lance, it's done just for clicks. Because I can't. It is.
Like, it really is. And it works because there's a lot of dummies out there.
There's a lot of stupid. I mean, listen, people get emotionally invested in anything, whether it's Star Wars, the 49ers, other sports. Like, we get it. We're fans. And if you're that invested in the universe that Snyder created, you'll sign as many petitions out. Like, it's not gonna matter, but like, you feel like you're doing something, and you're making friends and making connections and talking to people that have similar mindsets as you do. But I really do wonder, like, what percentage of the Lance homers and the Snyder homers actually believe what they're saying in terms of the return, right? Like, I really wonder if they actually think that there's actually a chance it could come back, versus just like, let me get out there and be a troll and say this and post this and get monetized and whatever, versus actually legitimately believing it. And I'm sure proportionally, Lance and the Snyder folks, they're probably even and low.
Yeah, restore the Snyderverse. Hashtag bring back. I gotta restore the Trey Lance verse too.
I don't know what you're restoring there, but yeah, I get it's like it never existed.
Oh boy. All right, man, we're gonna get out of here. Everybody have a great rest of your Monday night. We'll talk to you later.
Take care, all.